Hello everyone, my name is Abhidhunika and in today's video we are going to learn about granularity, aggregation and topics like these. What is granularity and what is aggregation and how do we do this or what do we understand by this in Tableau? Right, my name is Abhidunisa. I'm going to be your instructor for this session, and I'm sure you all know me by now if you have watched this series from the beginning. But just in case if you do not know, I am a data scientist and I have been working in this field for quite some time now, and I have been providing trainings as well for several students. And yeah, that's about me. Now, like I said, the agenda is simple learning about granularity and aggregation. Okay, so in Tableau, you can aggregate measures or dimensions, though it is more common to aggregate measures, right? So how do you aggregate dimensions? Mostly it is about aggregating the measures. Now, whenever you add a measure to your view, an aggregation is applied to that measure by default in Tableau, right? So suppose if you are trying to create a chart, usually you see there's only one point that you see. Why do you see that only one point? Because Tableau is aggregating that measure. When you remove that aggregating function, I'll show you how. That's when you will have the complete scatter plot. For example, if you are creating a scatter plot. Now there are a few points that you need to understand here. Okay, so suppose you want to change the aggregation of a measure in this particular view. So when you add a measure to this view, Tableau, like I said, it will actually automatically aggregate. Now what are aggregate measures here? It will either sum them up, take their average, median. These are some common aggregations that will happen here. Now suppose if this wants to aggregate dimensions. We know what aggregating measures are. Now we want to aggregate dimensions. So what are they? They are minimum, there are maximum, and count or distinct, right? That's how the aggregation of dimensions work. And in measures, they usually sum, average, or median. Something you have to remember here is the count or the distinct. This one is not supported for files like Microsoft Excel. Sorry, not right. Microsoft Excel, Access data sources, and also text files. Alright, so you just have to remember that. Now, if you are connected to one of these sources, what will you do then? So, it will show you a remark called as requires extract. And if you save the data source as an extract, at that time you will be able to, use this feature, right? So, we'll study about that. This is just a theoretical way to understand that. I'll also take you through the practical part of it, right? So, that is one thing about it. Now, there are a list of predefined aggregations in Tableau. Sometimes it is useful to look at the numerical data in an aggregated form such as summation or an average. Now, the mathematical function or that produces aggregated data, they are called as aggregate functions as we know. And they perform calculations on a set of values and return a single value. For example, a measure that contains values 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, right? They aggregate it as a sum and return the single value 13. Or if you have 3000 sales transaction from 50 products in your data source, you might want to view the sum of sales for each product so that you can decide which product has the highest revenue. You can use Tableau to set aggregation only for measures in relational data sources. Multidimensional data sources contain aggregated data only, right? So there are a set of predefined aggregations. So you can just search for the Tableau, go to the Tableau website and directly search for the documentation of these, right? You can also define custom aggregations here in Tableau if you do not know about that already. Okay, now how do you disaggregate this data? Now I don't want the sum and average of that. I just want to, use them individually. Okay, so what you will do is there is a way to disaggregate them. So I'll show you that practically also. But there, when you click on analysis menu on Tableau, you will have an aggregate option. So it's usually checked when your data is aggregated already as soon as you load it. But suppose you want to disaggregate it, you will just have to uncheck it. Click on it, will be getting unchecked, and that's how you will disaggregate the data. Okay. Now, what happens when we are talking about granularity? What is this granularity? Granularity, I can explain this to you in a much better way when I'm talking about dates. Okay, so suppose I have a financial year, not just one financial year. I have a data set of the financial years from 2016 to 2021, right? So there will be now inside this data, in every year. Okay, so you have 2015. Now I'm talking about granularity, everyone. Till now we were going through aggregation. Now we are talking about granularity. So we are going through the basic levels of, basic points of this data set that we have, right? Now 2000, okay, 2017, 2018, 19, 20, 21, right? So this is done. Now, in each year, when I'm going to reach its granularity, I'll reach the months first. Or, if not months, there'll first be quarter, right? So these are quarters, and then you have months, and then you have weeks, and then you have days. That is the granularity level, lowest granularity level. So all of them are divided into each of them. Now suppose you want to create a chart, you want to create a time series chart. If you do not know about it, you can just watch about this time series. There is a video already available. You can go through that to understand what is time series, right? So suppose you have a line chart. Now if you do not give the granularity of this, okay, if you do not tell that it's usually useful to see the months or quarter. Just looking at the year is not very good option. Suppose you don't have so many years, suppose you have only 2 years, 2016 and 2017. At that time, it will be really difficult. You won't be able to understand a lot, right? So there will be only 2016 and 2017, and you actually cannot see anything. Suppose you see only this, what do you understand by this? That's why you will need the granularity. So I want to look at the months here. So when I do that, how will the months be given over here? It will give me as May 2016. Suppose whatever the month starts from in that data set. This is an example I am giving. June 2020 then. 2016 we are starting, right? Yeah, so July, August, September till December. Then from January 2017 to December 2017, that's how your date will go. Instead of just this, you will get a proper line chart then, right? So that is what granularity is. Now I'll take you through a data set to understand this much better. Okay, let's have a look at our time series forecasting itself, right? Now here you see you have month, you have week, you have days. Now based on this will change. One more thing that you'll have to remember here is these are the two things. So these are for categorical and these are for continuous. Level of granularity to check that continuous values are very useful. Okay, so this will not be useful. Categorical values will not be useful if you want to see the level of granularity. If you want to see the level of granularity, it is better if you have a look at these, right? So you can see there are 4 years here, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now when I change them to quarter, month, weeks and days. So this is the level of granularity it will be reaching. Always remember there are continuous and categorical values. The first ones that you see here, these are categorical, and the ones after that, these are continuous. To check the level of granularity, always go with the categorical value, continuous values, right? So now what did you learn today? You understood what is the aggregation of data. I will actually show you how to see the aggregation. Okay, now you see here, this is the sum. These are aggregate measures. Here in analysis, if you can click, so these are aggregate measures. If I remove that, then you can see the aggregation is being removed. Okay, so you actually have each value separately, but because the data is huge, it is smart to use aggregate measures only. All right, now for this one again, I'll go back to months. Months give me a better data, and then I have the sum. Suppose I do not want the sum, then I can choose any other aggregation, that is average. I can also go for median. Count will be the most difficult thing because that will be almost the number of sales. Now, what is count distinct? That means the distinct values, not every value. I'm talking about distinct values here. If there are any duplicates, that would be removed here, right? So I hope this is now understood. We have understood what is granularity. We have understood what is aggregation and how do we do that using Tableau, right? So this is a very important concept for you to remember if you are working on any kind of data set, right? In Tableau, if you are trying to create a chart, these are some very important concepts that you know, that you have to know. All right. So thank you very much for being with me throughout this throughout this video patiently. See you in the next video. All the best and happy learning.